Welcome everybody, it's Kris Fernandez from Weatherall TV. I'm here with Lanny Smith, founder of Active Faith Sports, former professional basketball player, played with the Sacramento Kings, played in the D-League, played for the University of Houston. He's got a long list of accomplishments. So we're here with you today, Lanny. We just want to talk about a few different things regarding Active Faith, regarding your career. So first, can you tell us a little bit about growing up in Houston? What was it like growing up in Houston, Texas as a kid?
Man, it was a great time, man. I had a great childhood. One thing about being a basketball player, Texas is known as a football state. So a lot of us basketball players, we try to break that mold of just the state being known for football players. Guys like TJ Ford and Daniel Ewan before me, they definitely help open the doors nationally for people to start recognizing, especially us point guards, as being able to play coming from Texas.
So you went to the University of Houston, you stayed local for college. Being kind of already a hometown hero, being already known from being a top high school player, what was it like on campus? What was the lifestyle like?
Man, it was crazy at times. It was definitely there were different times where there was a struggle to stay focused. But I loved it, being able to have my friends and family that saw me grow up playing basketball, that saw me have success in high school, be able to come to those college games. That meant a lot. Especially have my mom there every game. She never missed a game. So it was surreal at times. I'd be driving on the freeway and see a billboard with my face on it or something like that, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great experience. So you had a few injuries in college and everything, but you still had a great college career overall. Would you say you had any specific expectations upon leaving college?
Well, going into college, the NBA was my dream. That was my dream since I was 6 years old. And those first 2 years, I had pretty good years. My freshman year, my sophomore year, I was getting better year by year. Started to get some attention from some NBA teams. And going into my senior year, breaking my foot and having the 3 surgeries, and the doctors telling me I'd never play basketball again. That was a really tough time for me. And so, to be honest with you, leaving college, I don't necessarily know if I had any expectations. There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of wondering if I would be able to continue playing basketball. So, it was a strange time for me during that time.
NBA draft. Where were you, and what was it like? Hearing name by name being called, guys you probably played with, played against. What was it like going through that process, hearing each name being called?
It was bittersweet, to be honest with you. I mean, I knew at that point, after I broke my foot and had to come back for the 5th year senior and all the surgeries I had, my name pretty much fell off every single draft board. So there was definitely no expectation of being drafted. I sat at home and watched the draft, and it was bittersweet, knowing that my dream of walking up and shaking David Stern's hand wouldn't happen. But seeing guys that I grew up playing with and against being drafted, that was also pretty cool, you know what I mean? So it was cool, It was also very motivating for me because I hadn't given up on that dream. So just kind of using that as fuel to the fire that, hey, even though I didn't get drafted, I'm still going to go chase after this dream and go get it,
A little bit of the chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I guess that mentality paid off because the Houston Rockets, the hometown team, picked you up for Summer League.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Did you feel that taste of success? Did you feel like your dream was finally starting to come together at that point?
Honestly, I knew that at that point I still wasn't the player that I was prior to the surgeries and the injury. I was still kind of working my way back. So I wouldn't say that I felt like I had reached that point yet, you know what I mean? And it was NBA Summer League. I knew it wasn't, training camp or anything like that, but I was so grateful for that opportunity that the Rockets gave me. Once again, being a hometown guy, staying home for college, and the Rockets being my favorite team, having an opportunity, to work out at that facility, go to NBA Summer League with the Rockets is awesome.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, you grew up watching Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and Mario Elie and all these different guys, Robert Horry, and so sometimes just in practice putting on the jersey and knowing, hey, this is the same team that I grew up watching and cheering for. It was really cool.
You were in the D League for a little bit after that, and next thing you know, the Sacramento Kings are looking at you and sign you for training camp. Where were you when you received that phone call? What was the moment?
So after my first year in the D League, I got invited to, they had a top 30 camp where they invited like the top 30 guys in the D League. It was in LA. It was 3 days, and they had, you know, NBA scouts from all different teams there. And it was, you know, it was mano a mano. It was every man for himself. Everybody's trying to get to that next level. And I played pretty well there. And I got invited to go on the NBA Asia tour. So we went to the Philippines and Korea and China. And, you know, I'm on the same team with Dominic Wilkins and Tim Hardaway, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was coaching us. So that was just a tremendous experience. So when I got back to the States, and I might have been coming home from the airport. I just remember driving, and my agent called me, and he was like, Sacramento Kings called, they invited you out to camp, they want you to come out there. And I just remember just being so, man, I was just ecstatic, man. I mean, to have that opportunity, that real opportunity, you know, to put an NBA jersey on after, you know, all the obstacles that I faced, you know, it was an awesome opportunity. I just remember praying and thanking God, you know, for blessing me with that opportunity, you know what I mean? Because the doctors told me I'd never play again. So, you know, it was an awesome blessing, definitely.
Wow. So, with all that being said, you step on the NBA floor for the first time on the hardwood. That moment. There's a lot of moments here.
Yeah.
That's a real important moment.
I mean, first of all, I'll never forget during camp and practice. I mean, training camp can be grueling. You know, the 2-a-days, the long practices, and Coach Westphal was the head coach at the time. Paul Westphal was the head coach at the time. And I remember after one practice, he pulled me to the side and he said, Lanny, you don't seem to be getting tired. It seems like you're just full of energy. Like, where is this coming from? And, you know, I knew the hard work that I put in as far as to get in the best shape I could possibly be in. But really, it was just whenever I felt tired, whenever I felt like, you know, I was too sore, whatever the case may be, I would just think back to the point, you know, where the doctors told me I'd never play again. And just knowing that, hey, I'm not even supposed to be here right now. And I'm here, you know, in the NBA training camp. That always gave me that extra boost of energy. That always motivated me to keep going even when I felt tired. So, I mean, every day after practice, when I was taking my shower, man, I just remember just praying and just thanking God over and over and over again. And I was so happy, man. And then I remember media day. We go to take the pictures for media day, and the vets, you know, they've been through the media day every year, so it's nothing new to them. For me, I get up there and I'm cheesing. You know, they're taking the pictures and I'm smiling from ear to ear. And I remember the vets, you know, just kind of laughing at me. But, you know, I just will always cherish that moment, you know what I mean? Yeah, that was great, you know. And then my first actual opportunity to get in the game, it happened so fast that I don't remember feeling anything. You know what I mean? It was just kind of just an out of body experience, man. I don't remember feeling it. It was like afterwards, I was like, wow.
Explain the emotional difference from when you were signed to play for the Kings to the moment that you were the final cut.
I'll never forget, it was right after we got finished playing the Phoenix Suns, and we were in Phoenix, and after the game in the locker room, got that dreaded call to meet the coach in the office, and him and the GM, Petrie, you know, they let me know that they were gonna let me go. You know, it was disappointing. You know, I think actually if I had lasted another week, the Kings were going to be in Houston playing the Rockets. You know, and so to be able to come home, you know, have my mom there, have my family there, and be on the NBA roster would have been really cool. So I was really disappointed, but I didn't I didn't feel depressed. I was confident that I was going to be right back. I had a really good camp. I finally was back to that player that I was before I got injured. So, and Coach Westphal, he really encouraged me, and he said he really loved what I did in camp, and for me to go to the D-League, and I would be back really soon. So, funny story about Coach Westphal. After I got hurt, I was back in Houston recovering from surgery. I was still on crutches, actually, and the Kings were in town to play the Rockets, and he calls me and he says, "Hey, Lanny, I want you, to come meet us for shoot around and stay for the game." So I did. Was in the locker room before the game, and when we were leaving out of the locker room, I was getting ready to go to my seat. He said, "No, I want you to come sit on the bench." And so, I actually was sitting on the bench where the inactive players normally sit, and I wasn't part of the team. So that was pretty cool. I don't know how often that actually happens, but it let me know that what I did left some sort of impact on him and the rest of the coaching staff there, for them to still notice me and recognize me and invite me to do that.
So you wound up back in the D-League for a little bit,
Yeah.
and now in December of that year, you tore cartilage in your knee.
Yeah.
At what point did you know that it was time?
Well, a lot of people don't know the true story of everything that happened with that. It was my third game back in the D-League, and a guy fell into my knee, tore some cartilage on the medial side of my knee. So the thing is, it wasn't like I fell over and had to be carried off the court. I ended up playing the rest of that game. It was a quick, sharp pain, but I ended up playing the rest of that game. And for a whole month and a half, almost 2 months, the doctors there for that team, they refused to give me an MRI. So, I saw the doctors, they gave me an x-ray, and they were saying they didn't see anything wrong. And I was telling them, something's really wrong with my knee. It started to swell up on me. It was giving out on me. And I went back 3 or 4 times and kept asking for an MRI, and they refused to give me one. So I played on my knee actually being torn for almost 2 months. And so I asked my head coach to give me permission to go get a second opinion. He allowed me to fly home to Houston, and I saw one of the top orthopedic doctors in Houston and got an MRI, and he was like, "How in the world can you be playing on this knee? There's no way you could be playing on this knee." And I said, "Well, I've been playing on it for the last month and a half." And he was like, "Well, after he looked at the MRI results, he said, I have to let you know your season is over with, and from the looks of things, your career might be over with too." So that was devastating news to hear, after all the work of getting back and getting that close to the dream, and then boom, having it taken away again, that was really tough, and especially because the extent of the injury got worse as I continued to play on it. So if the doctors would have given me the MRI from the beginning and we got that situation corrected from the beginning, who knows, I can still be playing to this day, So sometimes that bothers me. Sometimes I think about that, and it's hard to get over that sometimes, but God had a different plan for me. So
yeah. At that time, how hard was it to accept?
Man, it was devastating. I would rather have been told you're not good enough to play in the NBA, and I had to make a career decision based on that, rather than it coming because of the injury. You know what I mean? Like to get there and taste it and have it taken away. It's kind of like torture. You know what I mean? You work for something your whole life and you finally taste it, and then boom, it's taken away from you. So it was really hard, man, and I had to really rely on my faith. I had to really ask God for the strength to show me what He wanted me to do. So.
When you ended your basketball career, how long did it take before you started to consider this new career, and how did it all come about in the first place?
You know what? I tell people it's a God thing, because active faith was never something that I envisioned doing. It wasn't like I said, hey, when I get done playing basketball, I'm going to start Active Faith. I never thought about doing anything like it before ever in my life. And I was recovering after the second knee surgery and just praying, and I asked God to reveal to me, what do you want me to do with my life? You know, I want to play basketball, but it's obvious you have something different for me. And it was crazy, man. This idea for a sports apparel brand that was faith-based just kind of came out of nowhere. And you know, I started writing ideas down, you know, my notepad next to my bed, and you know, I started to think, okay, if I'm gonna do a sports apparel brand, what's gonna be the tagline? You know, because every sports apparel brand has a tagline. Nike is just do it. You know, Under Armour, we must protect this house, whatever it is. You know, and so I had this flashback to a mistake I made during a prayer before a game a couple of years prior to this. I ended all my prayers in Jesus' name I pray, amen. And this one particular game, I slipped up and I said, in Jesus' name I play, amen. You know what I mean? And so, sometimes I still get chill bumps when I think about it. You know, it came back to me, I wrote it down, and I was like, wow, in Jesus' name I play. And I knew from that point, I was like, this is what he wants me to do.
Tell me a little bit about your own personal beliefs and faith and how you've combined that with Active Faith, your brand.
Well, you know, I was raised in the church. My mom made sure that my brother and I had that foundation of being in the church when we were young. My faith has always been something that's been a part of my life. It's always been something that's been important to me. And I've always felt like, I never felt like God cared about who won or lost games and things like that. But I was always cognizant of the fact that he blessed me with this ability, he blessed me with these opportunities. And so in that case, you know, I was always thankful to him that I was able to play the game of basketball. You know, so just over the course of my career, I met so many other Christian athletes who felt that same way. So when we started the brand, I knew there were other athletes who would understand what I was trying to do.
Now, how would you compare, you know, being signed to the Kings to making your first sale under Active Faith?
You know what? There are a lot of similarities in chasing that NBA dream and being an entrepreneur, because with both, there's no guarantee of any type of success. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, that you're going to make it. There's that adrenaline rush of not knowing and putting in those long, hard hours. You know, I used to go back to the gym and shoot. You know, I'd be there at midnight and leave at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, and so now there are times where I'm in the office till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, so it's that same work ethic. You know, but it's, to be honest with you, it's a bigger impact, you know, than anything I could have ever done in the NBA. If I had made the NBA and played for 10 years, it wouldn't compare to what Active Faith is doing. I mean, there are people in 24 different countries that wear Active Faith, you know, and that's crazy. You know, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And the way that it has impacted people's lives and encouraged people, you know, it's been an amazing thing, man. So I know that it's my calling.
Wow. Now, would you say, if you can compare the motivation level of your motivation back then to make the NBA, or, you know, to continue playing in the NBA, versus your motivation now with Active Faith to continue to expand, to continue to reach out to new people, and to continue to make an impact, which one do you think outweighs the other, or do you feel like they're on par?
Active Faith definitely outweighs anything as far as my motivation with the NBA, because my motivation with the NBA, that was my personal dream, you know, something that I wanted to do since I was 6 years old. With Active Faith, it's so much bigger than me. You know what I mean? It's bigger than Lanny Smith. It's bigger than any athlete who's wearing it. You know, there's a message behind it. There's a mission behind it, and because of that, it just holds so much more importance than the game of basketball or any sport. You know what I mean? So my motivation with the NBA was all intrinsic. You know, it was a personal goal. It was something I wanted to do for myself and my family. With Active Faith, it's something that's touching people all over the world. So it definitely is more significant.
Wow. So you have a handful, I mean beyond a handful, of athletes already, you know, standing right by your brand. Jeremy Lin, Steph Curry, Anthony Tolliver. I mean, it's a long list, guys. How did you get involved with some of these guys, and what do you think it was about your brand that, you know, touched them in a certain way where they wanted to be associated with it on that level?
Well, I think first of all, you know how people say everything happens for a reason. So through my basketball playing career, I was able to develop relationships with so many different players. You know, a lot of guys, I have a lot of friends who are playing in the NBA and playing overseas and things like that. And so when I started the brand, I already had a network of people that I could reach out to and introduce the brand to, you know. And so I look back on it and it was like, wow, you know, God allowed me to meet all these different people through the game of basketball. And then here it is, we're starting to Active Faith, and I'm able to reach back out to these people and introduce the brand to them. I don't think it was anything about me, other than the fact that there is some sort of authentic feel to it when it's somebody that you know you played against. You know, I wasn't just any Joe Blow off the street approaching these guys. You know, so I had their respect from a player standpoint, and I was able to reach them that way. But really, I think the main thing is the message itself. You know, these are other Christian athletes who, you know, Jesus is important to them, and what the brand stands for is what has touched them and impacted them more than anything. You know, it wasn't any incredible sales pitch that I gave them or anything like that. You know, it was just really introducing them to the brand, and when they found out what it meant and what it stood for, so many guys have jumped on board.
Yeah. With Active Faith already, you know, being very successful in really a short period of time, what's there in the future for Active Faith? What do you have planned? What are some of your goals that you still have remaining for Active Faith in its future?
Well, you know, we definitely want to continue to expand the product line. You know, you look at Nike and you see how big it is, and a lot of people don't know that those guys started selling. They were selling shoes out of their trunk at track meets. That's how Nike started. You know what I mean? Under Armour has become this huge brand. Kevin Plank, the founder and CEO of Under Armour, he started out making these shirts in his mom's basement. You know what I mean? So there's no limit to what Active Faith can become. You know what I mean? And because God is behind it, you know, I wouldn't put any limits on it. We definitely have plans to get into the Christian school market, do the uniforms and the sports apparel for all the different Christian schools across the country. You know, continue expanding the product line. Active Faith is a lifestyle as well. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to apply to just sports. You could be active in your faith in anything that you do. You know, whether you're a teacher, a garbage man, you know, whatever it is that you do, you can do it for God's glory, and you can have active faith while doing it. So, you know, there's so many ways that we can apply active faith that, you know, the sky's the limit to what we can do with it.
I hope you guys all enjoyed this interview. Lanny Smith here. He's got a lot planned for the future. He's already done a lot. He's already made an impact on probably thousands of lives, we're talking already. And I'm sure we're only going to see more great things in the future. Kris Fernandez, Lanny Smith, signing out.